welcome to my maiden edition of the Empower Her, the Help We Need podcast. In this episode, we shall discuss my motivation for this podcast and what to expect. My name is Oluwafumike Moronkeji. You can call me Fumike. I'm a senior human resource professional with over 17 years of international corporate experience. Most importantly, I am a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, and a caregiver. This podcast initiative, The Help We Need, was born out of my personal experiences where I struggled to make intelligent and meaningful decisions in my career and personal life. I have, however, learned, and I'm still learning through this process, that the struggles I encountered may have been avoided or well navigated if I'd listened to and or accepted wise counsel. But can you really blame me? I took a chance with the circumstances I had at the time. And now that I think back, coming out of the comfort zone sometimes feels like you're going from the known to the unknown. You think to yourself, it may be better to stay safe rather than be sorry. But isn't there also a wise saying that says, if you want to live a life you've never lived, you have to do things you have never done. So today, I'll be open with you by sharing that embarking on this podcast journey has been quite daunting and feels very much like an uncomfortable zone. But it has helped me realize my essence and embrace the actual calling that I believe God has placed in me, a gift that is meant not to be kept to myself, but to be used to support others. I have learned some interesting lessons along the way, and the most critical ones start from why I have held back. And these are for a number of reasons. One of which was because I was afraid of making a change personally and professionally in my life, as I had become too secure and locked up in my comfort zone. Another was, for most part of my life while growing up, and for good reasons, I'd been a solo girl, not really having close family ties or friendships. So I struggled with whom to trust or to share certain information with because I worried about being let down. It bothered me how I would be perceived, especially if news broke out from an acquaintance or a close contact, that I talked a particular way or had some insecurity issues. I honestly didn't want to be judged, labeled, or cancelled. As you can imagine, the result is obvious. I've staggered from the after effect of not deciding on time, trying to make a decision, or wondering if I made the best decision. Above all, I've often felt restricted. Yes, restricted by myself, essentially, because I was trying to avoid criticism from others. And while I've moved on through my journey and learned a thing or two, it hasn't always been gloomy. I've also celebrated successes and wins. But I think the key point here is that I've often wrestled with looking backward or around me, letting circumstances tell me I can't make it, instead of moving forward and taking my best shot at what lay ahead of me. So while fear and uncertainty have kept me in an uncomfortable place, I realized after a closed group discussion with certain women that the issues that I struggled with were not alien to me. And it wasn't just all about me. And you know what? It may have been less daunting if I had found a safe place to share them. I was also humbled by what other women were going through. In fact, it appeared that every adult female was going through some form of disruption or the other, and was doing so in complete silence. These issues tore at the hearts of whom they were and made them seem unseen, unheard, and at times downright miserable, like I experienced myself. One thing I learned about the stories shared was that most of the lessons learned from those stories were actually good for me. Them, because every lady I met in the group had an experience in one form, shape, or the other that also gave me strength, comfort, and hope. And so did my stories that they could relate to. It did for them more than I thought it had done for me. In fact, my hardships made me wiser and gave me more credibility as I shared key learnings with them. I began to think to myself, what would I have gained if I had known better? And as a result, made smarter choices with the resources available to me. I wouldn't have appreciated what it meant to fall or fail and be able to pick myself back up again. And just maybe because of my faith in God, I can be considered as one of the very few lucky ones. But the real truth from my experience is that as women, we're not perfect, and it is okay not to be perfect. In fact, my understanding is that we were never meant to be perfect, but rather to take what life throws at us and make the best out of it. The question now was, what was I going to do about what I had learned from the group interactive discussion experience? Suddenly, it dawned on me that I was liberated. Why? I began to think not just about myself, but I began to think about others as well. I decided I was going to be a torch that helped light others up. While drawing strength from the same community, I would seek to be part of the solution and not stand aloof, simply minding my own business and trying to figure it out like everyone else was doing. As a female, I'm sure you can somehow relate to my story. So this is why I look forward to supporting and motivating you and myself on this journey of life that we are all called to undertake together. And without a helper, we would stagger like blind women in our dark spaces. And God knows what would happen if we fell and there was no one to help us. We could hurt ourselves and those we love in the process. Empower Her, the Help We Need podcast, is born out of the need for women like you and me, to manage our self-development, our career, our health, our family, and faith, so that we can live our best lives, both personally and professionally. As you embark on this podcast journey with me, expect me to be sincere and pragmatic. I know that the truth hurts some of the time, but it is what we desperately need all of the time. Expect to hear from me, as well as a selection of experts, health professionals, singles, mothers and fathers, older people and caregivers alike, who will help us. Yes, you and I navigate challenging topics and questions that really, really matter. Now, the goal here is to share expert knowledge and benefit from good counsel based on experience and sound judgment, so we can collectively leverage the wisdom of others and become the best versions of ourselves. This podcast journey also reminds me of what Moses said to Obab, his brother-in-law, in the book of Numbers, chapter 10, verse 29. You can find this in the Bible. And he said, "Come with us, be our guide, and the Lord will bless you." Be rest assured that this podcast is worth your time and effort. So come with me as we take this journey together. The learnings you will acquire and share with me and others along your way will definitely do all of us some good. Don't forget to stay tuned for more episodes on my YouTube and Spotify podcast channels. I'll leave the links below for your ease of reference. Until our next episode, stay empowered and don't forget to empower her.